Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. We're finally back after a slightly longer break than anticipated, but we are back and we are ready to get working on this house again. But before we do, I just want to mention that I am now on Patreon. So for those of you that like my content and would like to support me, you can head over to Patreon. It's a great platform to support content creators. Don't feel obligated, but of course, if you do have the extra money and would like to support me, then please head over to Patreon and check it out. So let's get to our house. And when we left off last time, we were working on the second floor, so we can go ahead and toggle the roof off and get back into the bathroom. So we'll probably work on finalizing some of the assets in here today. So we'll finalize the shower. We'll probably put a little shelf in there so you can put like maybe shampoo or stuff on it. Put a faucet in, put a toilet in, a vanity, and I guess that might wrap even a towel bar maybe for the shower. And then some other light switches and things for the second floor, and that'll probably do it. So we can jump right in and we can start, maybe we'll put the toilet in so we can toggle off the second floor, and we'll actually just take the toilet asset that we used in a previous video and bring that up to the second floor. And in fact, I think that was a floating toilet as well. So we'll probably want to figure out what the height was on this, because I certainly don't remember. It was about, we'll say 5, maybe 5.25, compensating for the sort of the angle of the baseboard there, and that should be good enough. So we'll turn on the second floor and then place it here. And then we can use these red crosses and spin it around 180 degrees. And then find the corner piece here so we can drag it up against the wall. And we'll make sure it's on the axis, green, and we'll hold shift so that we know it's on the wall when it stops. We can go up here, we'll say, what was it, 5 3/8 that it was off about. So we'll pull it up to about there. That'll do it, that's good. Close enough, doesn't need to be identical. And so we can toss on our blueprints again and just make sure, yeah, so the toilet was here. It is a bit closer to the shower than that, but we'll probably leave it there. We do have that light switch, which maybe we'll move it over to this side. And I think that light switch is actually for the shower, which is why it was over here, but in some places they actually have the light switches on the outside of the rooms. So I guess it kind of depends on what you're used to in your area. We'll probably put them on the inside of the room, just because there is already a switch on the inside, and it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to have another box facing the other way on the other side of the wall. So we'll do that when we get to the light switches, but for now we can probably put in a towel bar. And we can try and keep it sort of simple and in line with the other sort of pipe designs that we've been using throughout the rest of the house. So we'll actually take the doorknob and we'll use this piece. And we can move this into the wall as well. We'll stick it on the green axis. And right there is the wall. So now we can move it over to here, and we'll start scaling this up a little bit. Actually, we'll scale it out so that the inside piece doesn't start going through the wall. And so now what we'll do, we'll explode this and get it down to its basic assets, explode this as well, and keep this as 2 separate pieces for the moment. And we'll actually copy both of those and make another duplicate so that this can be on the other side. And then we can elongate this piece to however long we need. And we'll hit G on that. This will be towel bar support. And then I guess we can delete this one. Doesn't necessarily matter how far apart they are. Drag this one over. So we can start scaling up the bar a little bit just to make it a bit more substantial. And then we can start figuring out where to place it. So we'll drag a guide in. Maybe we'll center it right over the toilet. So we'll put it there. And then figure out how long our dimensions are. Maybe we'll say 14 inches either side. Maybe 12 inches is enough. Yeah, let's say 12 inches. So we can pop back into this piece and scale it to the line like that. There we go. And then we can find these pieces and drag them out to there. And then we'll say maybe 3 inches it can go in. Oh, that's a bit too far, isn't it? Maybe another inch, another inch. Yeah, so that'll be just 1 inch. And we are actually not on the wall, are we? Nope. So we'll have to bring this in again. Here we go. And drag this out to here. We'll have to check the other side now because we weren't on the wall. Bring this in 1 inch. And it might be fine. So we'll just drag it, say 1 inch. Now it is definitely a little bit past, so we'll pull that back in there, one inch, and then we can delete our guides, and that will be our towel rack. And that'll just sort of keep the design uniform with the rest of the house. Maybe even go back in and change it a little bit later. And probably we'll group it for sure. Select all the components and hit G. We'll say towel bar upstairs, and then we'll drag it up a few more inches, just so that the towel bar isn't sort of in the way of the toilet. And in fact, we don't really have another wall to put that on, so maybe it will have to go there. And we don't want it to be, yeah, maybe bring it down another inch. And so we can probably look at maybe a toilet paper holder, which wasn't something we actually looked at downstairs. If I turn this off and we look at downstairs, there is definitely not one down here. And maybe even just something similar to the door handle again, we can use. So we'll just pop onto the 3D warehouse and get some ideas. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of these are sort of the traditional little sort of spring piece in the middle. I guess the functionality of it doesn't necessarily matter. So what we can do is maybe even just take that door handle piece again, close this out, and bring this over, copy it, and paste it here. And we'll need to rotate this around, be 180 degrees. And so we'll go ahead and actually draw in the toilet paper roll, so we can do that on the wall here. We'll make sure that we're in the first layer component and not drawing on the wall, because we want this to be separate. And so we'll draw it in. Now it's 45 millimeters, the tube, but of course typing that dimension in will be 45 in both this direction and that direction. So we'll have to find the half, and so we'll just say 23.5 millimeters. That'll be the roll. And then this is 100 millimeters long, like that. And then we can offset this to be about 100, but I guess it doesn't necessarily matter where this is. It can kind of just be wherever it looks good. And pull that over to the wall, reverse that. And so for some reason that pulled that all the way through. We can delete that again. And there we go. And then this will be our toilet paper roll, but we'll also want to sort of have a little piece sort of dangling off there. So we'll go and say hidden geometry and find the piece that starts folding back in on itself, which would be here, and then draw sort of a square down like that. That fills in, and then there we go. So now we can just say G on this toilet paper roll, and then go back and turn hidden geometry off again. And then we can see where this lines up with our roll. And so it definitely needs to be a bit further out from the wall and actually a bit longer as well. So we will do both of those things and grab that, pull this out until it's clear of the wall. Now we can go in, explode this, pull this base piece flush to the wall, and then actually pull this out a bit further so that it's clear of that. There we go. And then explode this as well, and then just scale this along to there, and then this piece along to here, like that. I think that'll be fine. And I guess actually we'll do a -1 on this so it's sort of facing inward, and pull it out a little bit. And so we'll group that. I'll say toilet paper holder. And I think that will do it for that piece. We're getting pretty good mileage out of this sort of subassembly of bits. And we can grab this piece. We'll see actually what the dimension is here off the floor. 1'6", pretty well 1'7" almost, above the baseboard. So we'll go back up, turn second floor on, and paste it here. Rotate it to there, and then do a -1 on this. And then we'll say 1'7". Pull this into the wall right there, and then pull this down to right about there, and then over to probably about there. That's probably pretty good. And so that will do it for that as well. So now we can get back into the shower. What we can probably do here first is figure out a shelf situation. We'll say maybe 3 feet on the inside here, and draw a line across there. Like that, push this in maybe an inch or so, and then pull this out maybe 4 inches. Give us a 5-inch ledge. I guess that's enough. And that will sort of act as not really a railing, but something to lay shampoo on and a soap dish. maybe even bring that up a few more inches, say 6 inches. And then we can go ahead and put that sort of the trim that we have around the outside here on that as well. That was a 1/4 inch. So say 0.25 on that side, 0.25 on that side, and then we'll just draw our lines in. There we go, delete our guides, and then we can hit B, bring up our paint bucket tool, and then if we hit Alt, we can sample that trim color and bring it back up to this ledge, and there we go. And that'll sort of, I think that'll function fairly well. We can probably go ahead and bring our drain back to center a little bit more. Or maybe it's fine where it is, because I guess that's technically where a lot of the water is going to be falling. Yeah, so I guess we'll leave it the way it is. Maybe even pull this out another inch again, sort of minimize the ledge a little bit. And maybe we'll say 1/2 inch. Got to have that little minor adjustment in there. And so now we can go into the 3D warehouse again, and we will look for a set of tabs that are very similar to our shower head. So we'll try and keep that maybe sort of on the screen, and then pull up the warehouse here. And I actually kind of like this one, because it's got like a sort of a handle as well as a tap and a shower sort of spray wash hand shower. That's what you would call it. So we'll go ahead and download this, and we'll bring this directly into our model. This will help the shower unit look a bit more sophisticated. So we'll put that there, and then we can rotate it. So we just use these red X's again and spin it around, and then bring these up to the wall. And there we go. And now these are actually textured. But before we do that, we'll find the center of our wall here. Bring that up to there. And that's in line with that. And it's actually pretty close. Drag it over to there. And it seems a little big to me compared to the shower head. I'll actually erase that for a second. So maybe we'll scale it down a little bit, or maybe we'll scale the shower head up. So we'll go ahead and hit S on that. And then if we hold Shift while we're dragging on this piece, it will actually keep the aspect ratio, sort of the dimensions the same. And then maybe we'll scale this down a little bit as well. Do the same thing. Hold Shift. And there we go. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So now what we'll do is we'll actually copy the color that we have on the shower head and paint that the same as the tap set that we have here. And in fact, they're not really letting me change the color. So I'll go in and just hit explode until everything is separated. And then just sort of mash red on these. And now we can go up and sample the shower head again and then repaint all this stuff. And we'll just make sure that we get all the colors. And then we can actually go in here again and make sure that this hose is sort of a different color than the rest of it. Maybe not super dark. It can sort of be maybe like a metal braided cable or something like that. Or a hose rather. And that'll go ahead and finish the shower for us. So now we can move on to the vanity. So we'll actually go downstairs and be a little bit clever again. And take this vanity as well as the tap. And maybe even the mirror. Because the mirror is probably... It kind of is what it is, right? So we'll take this and copy this to upstairs and paste it in. We're not going to keep it exactly the same. We're going to, we'll leave the mirror and maybe the taps, but we are going to change the vanity itself just to make it a little bit different than downstairs and to just show sort of how versatile some assets can be if you want to modify them a little bit later rather than rebuilding from scratch. And so our distance from the baseboard to the bottom here is 9.5. So we'll keep that in mind for upstairs. It's a very tight space in this bathroom. I think what we'll actually do is go in and change our field of view again, say 65, and that'll just give us a bit more, well, field of view so that we can sort of see around the objects a bit better and stop sort of clipping into things. So we'll make this 9.5, and then we can pull this up to there and then pull it into the wall. If we keep it on the axis, we can just pull it over till it stops. There we go. And so now what we can do, we won't make this a floating cabinet anymore. We'll go ahead and we'll make sure that this is a unique component so that when we do start modifying it, it does not change the one downstairs. And so we'll go ahead and draw in these lines underneath the doors. And make sure it's on the green axis. And then we can pull these down to the floor like that. Erase that line. And we won't worry about it clipping through the baseboard for now. We'll actually just sort of leave that the way it is. Pull this one down to the floor as well. Erase that line. And so now we can start mixing it up a little bit. We'll take these sort of etched in handles off. So we'll just pull these all the way over. Get rid of them. And we're going to change the sink a little bit as well. So we can draw a line in there and then sample the side here and paint that. And now we want the counter height to be the same. So what we actually need to do is reduce this down a little bit, the height of this sort of a wooden piece. And so we're going to make a little bit more of a floating sink. It's not really going to be floating, of course, but it'll sort of be more open underneath than this one currently is. And will actually be a lot wider, or a lot larger, I suppose. So we'll say a little bit, maybe about the same height, maybe another 2 inches there. And that's how far we'll bring the top of the counter down. Bring this across to here, and then bring it in 2 inches. And we can erase all this. We'll bring the tops of the doors down to this height, and then shave this one off as well. There we go. Erase that, and make sure that we have the back done. And now we can fill the top in, and we'll actually, however wide this is here, this is that's 2 inches. Maybe we'll bring the doors down another 2 inches, and then put another sort of molding piece on the top. I can erase that line. Actually drag it across there, and this is, that's an 1/8 of an inch. So we'll say another 1/8 of an inch, just so that we can have the 2 inches be cleared. Drag this across to there, and paint all this stuff so we don't need to do it afterwards. And now pull this out to match that. And so we'll just have a look at our dimensions here. So 1'7", and maybe we'll actually pull this in a few inches on either side. Maybe even we'll say 4 inches. Maybe 3 inches is fine. So yeah, we'll grab the sides here. Say bring that in 3 inches. And we'll sample this side for us. And so now, of course, we need to do the countertop and the sink. But this is obviously a little bit confusing, a little bit sort of disassembled at the moment. So we'll actually just take all of this and delete it. And then what we can do is draw our own in again. So we'll take this and we'll just tap Control. So that allows us to sort of create a separation in there. And then we can move into the faucet and find the bottom of it. And then just drag it to there. And so now we'll go back out, grab our bucket tool, and make sure that everything is white on the top here. And so we have a height of 4 inches here. We'll say 1.75 for the top. And we'll actually just use push-pull again. So we'll hit P for push, and then tap Control. You don't need to hold it. And then pull that down to there. So now we can move this in, say 2 inches all around. Just go outside the wall here and push that in like that. And we'll just sample the brown again and clean up the back a little bit. And actually we'll push in the sides, say 1/4 of an inch, just to give us a little bit of clearance all the way around. Clear our guides there. And now we can go ahead and do our sink. And this will be a little bit bigger than the previous one. So we can get out of this group, move the taps back, say 2 inches, and back into the countertop again. And we can do an offset, and we'll offset 3 inches, and then bring this out a bit further so that it clears the front there. Say 1.5, and then we can push this down. And we'll say 5 inches, clear this piece out. Can erase these underside pieces as well. And then we can erase sort of the brown top there as well. And start maybe pulling in the sides a little bit, maybe another inch. So we have 4 inches on the front there. Maybe we'll make this, that's 4.5. Maybe say another 0.5 there on the back. And then for the back, we'll actually put in another piece here, say 2 inches. Draw a line down, and then pull this across. Just sort of to cover the baseboard. And then we can actually put in a shelf here as well. So we can just draw in a rectangle like that, say maybe 2 inches across. And then pull this out maybe an inch shy of the front. Something like that. Maybe even a bit thinner. Say 0.5. And yeah, maybe even bring this down a little bit lower. And that'll give us a shelf space of 7 3/4 inches. So maybe we can push these doors up another inch like that. There we go. And so that'll give us doors of let's say a foot. So we'll bring these back down a foot. Always very finicky. There we go. All right, perfect. So now we can get out of that again, have another look at it. And so now we can take sort of the squareness off these edges and round it a little bit. So actually go in and select the inside faces here. We can go up to our round corner tool, select the yellow one, and we have 5 sides and 3/16. So I think that's pretty good. We'll go ahead and hit enter. There we go. Now we can just select the top piece and delete that, and then turn off hidden geometry. And so there we go for that piece. And so now what we can do for the outside here, just select these 4 faces and then select the round corner tool again, hit enter. And so that will round the top of our counter for us, and sort of we'll leave the underside square a little bit. If you wanted to, you could have made this into a separate component, and then you could sort of just round the whole thing as you see fit. And if you just wanted to round these faces, you could just go in with the arc tool and sort of draw a line across and then pull that down. But I think we'll go ahead and leave that the way it is now. And so what we can do to finish this up is take the tap from the sink downstairs and bring it up to this vanity. So we'll turn off the second floor, and this will give us a minute to move all of our assets to the second floor. And make sure the tap is there as well. Then we have these, move those over. And then the drain, I think that's the drain for the shower. Yes, not a downstairs light. Move that up to the second floor. Now what we'll do is we'll actually delete this face so that we can select all of the geometry for the drain. Then undo, make sure that comes back. Then we'll turn the second floor on again, and then we can just go in, figure out where the center is. We'll turn hidden geometry on so that we can drag a guide out from here. Find our center point right there, and then drag this out, not to the center, but to maybe about here, maybe 3 inches. Then we can pop in our drain. Now we'll actually delete this face so that we can get this to go flat or flush with the face of these guides. And then drag this to where it needs to go, and that'll be right about here. So we can put that there, and then we'll draw the face back in again. And so the way we can do that, we'll just draw a corner here that'll fill it back in. We can copy that, delete our guides, and then just make sure that the this piece actually intersects with the drain, and then delete that piece. All right, so that will finalize the drain for us. We'll go ahead and turn hidden geometry off again. And ultimately that will finish the vanity, except I guess for the door handles. So we'll do the door handles a little bit differently than some of the other ones that we've done. Maybe make them a bit more simple. So we'll go into this, bring down maybe 1 inch for that guide. Make these 2 inches thick. And then maybe not that thick, maybe say 1.5, say 0.5. Drag that up and drag these over 4.5 inches. We can draw a rectangle around both of these. Erase our guides. Pull these out 1.5, maybe 2 inches. Then we'll say, yeah, 5/16. Then we can drag these out like that. Push this all the way through so that we can get our handles. And we'll actually get sort of a metal color. We'll use the same color for the taps there and bring that down to these. And we want to make sure that the inside here isn't being changed as well. So we'll actually draw a line down through there. And it definitely looks like these stick out maybe a little bit too far, especially considering the sort of the counter is flush here. So we'll pull these in 1 inch, maybe 0.75 is enough. And then drag out our 5/16 again so that we can drag the outside into that measurement. Say to there, give that a look. And I think that looks a little bit more reasonable. Collapse that tab in. And so now we can move everything back into the wall. There we go. Now we can recenter this mirror here, pull that into, say, around there. And so now we just need to check and make sure where the door ends up if we were to pull it in. And it definitely clears the vanity, so there's no issues there. So we can bring that back to where it was. And that'll wrap up the bathroom. We can maybe color this a little bit later next time, but we will now move into the light switches and finalizing the rest of these up here. And so now we can take this one that we have downstairs and bring that upstairs into the bathroom, because we will use that one inside the bathroom. We do want that dimmer for the light in the shower, so we'll paste this here Make sure it's on the wall and lines up with the existing light switch. And then we can say make unique on this, and we'll actually delete these other two lights. Say make unique on this as well, so that we can pull this over. And that was, how far are we pulling this over? 2.5 inches roughly. And we want this outside piece to be 3/4 of an inch. So we'll say 0.75 there. Pull that to there. And then I don't even know what this is supposed to be, so we can just erase this. Clean up the model a little bit. There we go. Delete our guides, delete that. Pull this over to here a little bit. And so there we go. Now we have a light switch for the bathroom itself, and the dimmer will remain for the shower. So we can start doing some of the other switches. We'll want a switch for the laundry area. And so we'll just start tossing around some regular light switches. And so we'll say about 4'2" off the baseboard, and that'll make it similar to some of the other light switches. And that'll of course be to the top rather than the bottom. Rotate that in. And so now we kind of need to start thinking about the logistics of this. We'll want a light switch for the stairwell area, and that can be downstairs as well as upstairs. But we'll want that to be somewhere close to the stairs. And so there are sort of a number of light switches in this area. We have the laundry room area, the stairwell, as well as maybe this hallway. And so we can maybe put all of that onto one switch, and we can put that here as well as over here. So rather than being on this wall, we'll actually delete that, grab this one down here. So we'll actually put this at the top of the stairs, say right around here, rotate it 90 degrees, and then so we'll bring that up to 4'2", and then place that there. We want to make sure that it clears the door, but isn't too close to the stairs. And I think that will work. So that can be for the laundry space, that'll be for the hallway and the stairwell, and then maybe 3 is all we need. So we can go in and say make unique on this. The dimmer switch originally downstairs was for the Edison bulb fixtures, so we don't need this up here. So we can just drag that over, erase this, clear out these lines, and then we can just say make unique on this as well, and go in and drag this over to there. We want this to be 3/4, and so pull that to there. And so there we go. That's those switches dealt with. Now we can bring in the switches for the bedrooms, but we will want those to be on the insides of the rooms. So we'll actually take this over to here, and we'll have the switches be on this wall, of course, so that when the door is open, it's not covering the switch. And then we'll just try and center them up on this wall. And we'll probably only need 2 switches for this one. So again, we can say make unique. We'll go in and delete, make unique again, and then slide this over to here, and then just change the plate so that it's the right size. There we go. That'll be that. So that'll give us a light switch for the room and a light switch for the closet. And then we can go ahead and do the same thing in the other bedroom. And we'll go ahead and put those on this wall. And then just make sure we have the right height, 4'2", and drag that up to there. And there we go. And that will do it for the light switches, I believe. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this part. Thank you guys so much for being patient over the longer than necessary break. If you like this video and would like to help support me make more videos like this, head over to that Patreon link and check it out. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.